Hey folks, welcome to Kaiser's Castle. I'm on Boiler Room right now, and we are doing a show together, and I'm running late, and it's all my fault. So here we go. Um, First thing we'll talk about is little small kits, I guess, before we get into the knives. Um, I'm showing right now, uh, well, there are three knives in it. One's the bartender friend at the top, and there's a straight razor. I've shared these with Hesher. He knows what they look like. And then a K55K knife. On the opposite side of the frame, I have an old East German tin that was a cleaning kit. Comes wrapped with, it comes in a wrap. And I put a watch. It has a compass and a small compass and a thermometer on it. And so that's the item I'm throwing up now. Did you, from looking at that, have any thoughts on that there, Hesh?
Honestly, I'm trying to locate that picture. Is that in the ones that you sent in our direct messages, or is that in one of the other rooms?
It may be in the room,
In the new
Guns and
pictures
Gear.
room?
Guns and Gear. Yeah, it might be in there.
Okay,
It
all
might
right.
be faster to find some of the stuff there.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'll just be catching up here, heading over to Guns and Gear, and remind everybody you're listening to Alternate Current Radio on my end, and you're listening to Sword Point Nine on the other end. Thanks for joining for another broadcast here.
Oh yeah, and we are having a good time right now. With that being up, I threw out a couple different things. I want to make sure you get to see that first and give your comments. Um, and then I'll just start uploading different things that we have to upload. The interesting thing is inside that tube, um, you can put a lot of gear in it. And it's one of those things where I have two pouches up, and it's an exploded view where you can actually see what was in the tin. It's just a high intensity whistle, a flashlight, and a little thing from a company called Exotac, and it's a Firestarter. Typical type of Firestarter, little flint and steel, almost like a Bic lighter, except it's, if you guys look them up, it's got a little fire starter within it. So the whole body seals, so it's waterproof. And hopefully, Hesh, you found that.
Yeah, I believe I have. Yeah, those Exotac fire starters are great, man. I've been following Exotac for some time now. They make really nice gear.
Indeed, they do. And another funny thing is, in this picture that I have, you've probably already seen it. I have a product that I bought. It was from Mission Knife and Tool, and it was because one of my MOSs is, it was EOD, explosive ordnance disposal, and it's all titanium except for two things. One is a Gerber, and you'll see a picture of that. It's actually, we're keeping in line with the knives also. Um, it's actually a multi-tool. It has some interesting features to it, but it is a piece of steel. So you have to, it's on a clip on the actual bag. It was put out by SOF. That was the name of the company. It's not really a bag. It's more of a pouch, a drop leg pouch. Um, that also has it's still non-magnetic and non-sparking, but it has the U.S. military. If any of you guys have been in it and ever dealt with any explosives, you'll know what the crimper looks like and what composite material it's made out of. It's non-sparking and non-magnetic. You can approach. I'd have to also take out, and you'll see why. There's rim grit. It's a type of saw to saw something that's still. It has steel in its component, and the rim grit saw blade. It comes on and comes off. So I have some extra saw blades with that. But I'll wait. Your thoughts on those two items?
Uh, I I guess I'm curious about just more like the high level operation of an EOD personnel in the military. Can you, for someone who may not be familiar with that particular task, can you just kind of give us a brief overview, and then um, let us know why it's important that there are you don't have like magnetic items or sparking items in it. I mean, that's going to be obvious to some, but for those that don't know, maybe.
Oh yeah, if it's booby trapped, magnetic, it could be actuated by an actual magnetic fuse. So you want to keep still away. Anything magnetic. That's why you'll never see me wear a watch that's not plastic. I still have my Timex watch that I got in 1986. Um, in that picture that you have there, I believe that was, I believe that watch that I'm displaying there was purchased. That was my second watch, and I believe I purchased that while I was in the Marine Corps, and so that would have been circa 1988, 89. Everybody talks about high dollar watches. You're talking about a watch that cost at that time. My first watch was $8, and I think that one jumped up to a whopping $15. So I'm not talking about the actual issued one. I'm talking about the one on the at the PX. Um, and then you also need to worry about sparking, because you're dealing with, let's say there's a piece of ordnance that didn't go off, and you have 26 different rules on what you can't do. First one is don't move, blah blah blah. It goes down the list. I don't want to go down. It's be tedious and boring for you all. But the first thing you have to worry about is if you spark something. Let's say, shit, we're gonna go in the weeds on this, and I don't want to. If you go up to, let's say, a fuel air bomb that didn't go off, the fuel, everything's on the ground. It separated. The pole came down. There was a problem with the fusing. You go to deal with that. Well, if you make a spark when you're crimping a blasting cap, you could just set that bomb off. It's not going to have the same effect, but you'll get burned the fuck up with it. And that's why magnetic and non-sparking is very important, because you can actually kill yourself, commit suicide, basically.
Yeah. Okay. That makes good sense. And what is how does the I'm looking at this the mine probe that you have here. I see that it's made of titanium. How does that work? When do you know you need to get one of those out? Do you have to like be able to see that there's a mine, or how do you know, describe to me a little bit about how that titanium mine probing tool works, and when you would deploy it.
Well, a mine probe, and remember all those items that you're looking at, the mine probe, the titanium sharpener for the blade, and the blade itself, are all made by Mission Knife and Tool, and we'll get into that. How I know the actual guy that worked there. He was a co-owner, and he now owns a company called Milltac, and we'll get into some of his items here in a second. But a mine probe you would pull out. Let's say you see something wired; it's hardwired. I'm sure everybody has seen that one movie. I can't think of the name of it right now, where the guy sees a wire, the deck cord, he lifts up on it, and all these artillery rounds just pop out of the ground. And he's like, whoop, and he's in the entire suit. You would do that to make sure you don't do that event. And if you're in a minefield, usually they're marked from Western standards. In the Middle East, it could be a little more nebulous. And it's titanium also, because you don't want it to have a magnetic sensor, because they do have magnetic operated mines. Just like they have, it's just a different kind of fusing. And sometimes they can triple fuse them. I mean, you're talking about you have to think about it as how ingenious people can be to try to hurt you. And that's a factual matter. that you have to think about with everything. So you want to take everything that could kill you off the table. It's all a matter of odds.
All right, that makes good sense, Kaiser. So magnetism and anything sparking, you don't want any of that stuff on your kit, on your body, anything like that if you're doing EOD operation.
And that's why you have Mavericks and Dukes and other items that exist that turn off cell phones. They'll turn them on, turn them off, they'll jam them. There's a lot of functionality with that type of system. Um, Anyways, to get to the basics of it, um, I got indoctrinated to this system when in '05. It was hilarious because it was new to me. We didn't have them in the beginning of my first conflict. Uh, but in '05, they had the countermeasures out, and that's what they're called. And you'd be in, we were in Adnan Palace, everybody's phone would ring, or everybody would all of a sudden be talking to somebody and it would hang up on them. And they'd be like, oh, shit. And if you were the first guy, if it was your first day there and that happened to you, you'd be looking around at everybody and everybody'd be laughing at you. Because you're like, why is my phone not working? And then they'd be just like nonchalant about it. And it just happens abruptly. And they'll also turn them on too, just in case there's some ordnance put out. They try to detonate it before people go through it. So that's if they're cell phone operated types of IEDs, improvised explosive devices.
And talk to me about this Tanto blade that you've got on the table there as part of your EOD kit. Is what kind of steel is that made of, or what, how does that fit in?
It's titanium like all the other things. If you have to cut deck cord, if you have to cut wiring, not really wiring, let me rephrase that, that was clumsily stated. If you have to cut some sort of rope that's holding it or something, and let's say it's over a bridge and there's steel next to it, and your knife slips or it cuts through and creates a spark, well, if it's something that's sensitive, you've just created a spark, so you've just made yourself less safe. And that's why it's made out of titanium, just like the sharpener. The sharpener is made out of titanium. If you ever use a sharpener that's titanium, made for titanium, and you mix it with steel, you will get a spark when you use it. So you never cross-contaminate. Just like with food, you don't cross-contaminate. And remember when we were talking about sharpeners to do the inside of a serration, that's the type of sharpener you would need to use, is that pointy, spiky looking thing.
Okay, I've never dealt with a titanium blade before. Does that hold an edge well? How does that differ from a lot of the steels that I would be used to?
Well, it's the hardest non-metallic, when I say that, titanium's a metal, but not really. It's lighter. Um, it will maintain an edge. It has a insane Rockwell hardness. Uh, and you can use it for prying. You can really abuse the damn thing. And as you can see, this one's wrapped just like the one you have, or the ones you have. And that one was done by the guy who owns the follow-on company. He actually bought and left that mission knife and tool and bought Miltac. And the guy's name's Craig Sword, so he doesn't mind me shouting him out anytime I'm showing off his gear. And he did that for me while I was in Iraq and sent it to me because I needed to get one.
Nice. That's a good kit, man.
Now we'll go to real quick the you'll see a more in-depth look, but on the picture you'll see that is a Gerber EOD tool. Okay, you'll notice there's a hole in the middle. You still have the cutting edge, that's for wires or whatever, but it also has a crimper for deck cord. And now you see what a military looking crimper looks like too. And then you see the rim grit, and it's a 2 1/8 inch saw blade. and that's sticking out on the other side. And it's kind of like, I'll show you another device later on that's built very similarly to this, and you'll understand how it connects, because there wasn't really a good way to show the connection on this, but it's very similar to an item you'll see later called an artifact.
Okay, excellent. And that Gerber, I assume, is a 100% titanium also.
No, it's still.
Okay.
Like I said, you ditch that if you're going to deal with EOD, with explosive ordnance, and you're trying to render safe. That one is if you're using it to actually put explosives out, you're working quickly. That one's pretty much if you're dealing with explosives.
I see. Okay. And if you were doing the EOD actions, would you have to like get all these things like that Gerber off of your person, or can you just keep them stowed while you do your work with your titanium tools?
Oh no, you totally cleanse all metals off your body, all steel.
Okay.
And it's a drop leg. You don't see how it connects because it's on a belt, and I didn't feel like getting the belt out and show you how it is, but it's actually like a Velcro hoop. And if you're wearing the actual EOD suit, you can. There's Velcro on the inside. The metal is on the tool bag on the inside. There's parts that have Velcro, and you just clip it on. Basically, you don't clip it on. You have the Velcro, hold it on. You fold it over the back of your forearm, and you move up to it if it's something you have to crawl to. There's different ways to wear it, but yeah, you get rid of all steel, any electronics. You don't go up to something like that with anything that could be an outside source to cause a premature detonation, which will end your respiration.
Yeah, that makes good sense. We don't want that.
Exactly. And so my next photo, hopefully you had a chance to look at that. It is three separate types of, and there's two pictures, separate pictures of them. Three separate types of multi-tools. Gerber at the top, the aforementioned one. I have them with them closed and open. Then there's a Leatherman. Now that one specifically is built for working on an AR platform. My other multi-tools are already gone. The bottom one is a saw, and that's got that unique action I was talking to people about with multi-tools. And it's an early version of a saw. I think that was 2001-ish, 2002, roughly somewhere around there. And then I have the sharpener that we were talking about the other day. It's on a little kit bag. I'll show the bag here in a little bit, but I'm sure you've seen this before. It is the type we were talking about on the last show, where we didn't get in too deep on things.
Oh yeah,
that's a nice sharpener there. I see that it looks very portable. It's got your two pull through sharpeners, and then it has a flip out rod for doing your serrations, right?
Exactly. Yep, that's exactly what that's for. And did you have any other thoughts on? Now the one piece of metal tool that is also with that Leatherman, and it is for the front sight to adjust it. That's why it has those little two prongs on it. And then the back end of it has got, and it's not a real clear picture of it. It's got like a little thing for moving. Some of the sighting systems you'll see, you'll be able to get some purchase on, or if you have, how do I put this? Something that screws into a rail, you can tighten it down a little more, and that's what that tool's for.
Oh, okay.
So if you're working on whatever's on your rail, you can use that to tighten them down or whatnot if you're not using like QD links for your stuff or whatever, right?
Exactly. QD is awesome, but the problem is sometimes you have slippage, and it just depends on your sighting types of systems. There's a plethora of them out there. Don't want to bore everybody with that, but that is pretty
Yeah,
much it.
and for anyone who doesn't know, QD stands for Quick Detach, and there are a number of
Pretty much anything you could stick on your rifle's rail, then probably make QDs for. And some are better than others.
Just like the Morrissey song, some girls are better than others, right?
It's universal, man.
Exactly. So the next set of, did you have anything more to add on those? Because these are just the pouches that I have up now. If you have any questions on, or any last things to talk about the multi-tools, we can talk about that. And let me see if I can't, and I should be able to. Give me a second. Why don't you talk about something real quick so I can try to add these things on, since I didn't get a chance to prior to the show because I came late to the party.
Oh yeah, sure, no problem, Kaiser. So let's see. I'm looking at these three multi-tools here, and that's one thing that everybody should probably have in their kit. You don't need to be a rifleman or a tactical person or a handyman or woman or anything like that. It's just always good to have a multi-tool, and I think the old adage we spoke of in the last episode we did like this of one is none and two is one probably applies to multi-tools also. I think we have at least four of them laying around the house and in cars and in bags. And, it's just great because if you have one of those nearby and you need to do a quick, pliers come in handy all the time, more than you might think. I also find that I use the flathead screwdriver in my multi-tool almost more than I use my primary screwdriver. It's just so simple to just know that you have all those tools right there, be familiar with it, know exactly where all those things are. So, I find myself having to go to the garage and get in the toolbox when I'm looking for something specific, and there's just so many times when I can grab the multi-tool and accomplish my task without having to, go to the garage, look in the toolbox, find the right tool, all that stuff. So it probably goes without saying, a lot of you are out there going, well, duh, everybody has multi-tool, but a lot of people don't. And I think it's an important thing to have if you want to be an effective, prepared human being. Very much like a pocket knife.
And I have to agree with that. These people are getting a treat watching me move this, just like Jay Dyer. It annoys me, and now I'm doing it.
Yeah, you know how that goes when you're trying to record something live, and it's like, oh no, I got to move this over here. I was dealing with that when I had James Corbett on. I kept having to move stuff around while I was trying to record, and it was a little bit frustrating. So, the joys of live streaming and capturing video and image.
Exactly. I'm not hating. I'm just thinking it's hilarious that I'm that guy now.
Right. It's funny. It's funny when you go from the viewer to the presenter, and you're like, oh, I see why that is troublesome now.
This is the hardest part. Yeah. I just wonder what. Here we go. So let's go to image. I got one more thing to drop in because you put a very nice multi-tool on. If you want to talk about that, that's way cool. Give me a few secs.
Sure. Let's see here. Let's see, my multi-tool, one of them I have is a Gerber. I think my first one was the Gerber. I don't know that I have a picture of that on hand, but that's my primary one. The first one I got is still the one I use the most often. I think it lives on the kitchen counter, basically. It lives wherever I used it last, which is oftentimes on the kitchen counter, but I use it all the time, and I think it's really nice. It's less expensive than some of the Leathermans out there. I would like to add a Leatherman Wave or one of the classic Leathermans to my kit, but as it is right now, I have a Leatherman Skele tool, which is a nice one. And for those of you that like to rock and roll lightweight, the Leatherman Skele tool is really cool. It's somewhat minimal, but it's got all the essentials there. It's got your blade and pliers and wire cutters and all that stuff. So that one's really nice. I like to keep that in sort of my my light speed sort of backpack. And I think there's another Gerber laying around. I don't know. We've got just like I think we have 2 Leathermans and a couple of Gerbers, but the Leathermans are the skeletal version.
Yeah, that's what I have is the skeletal version of your Leatherman. I'm trying to fit it in both on one screen with the open and closed, so people can see how nicely. It actually probably is a little lighter than a normal from the looks of it. I've never used one, but it looks like just by the way it's manufactured, it might be a little lighter than a normal multi-tool. Is that a fact? It looks like it may only. Oh, you know what? I just spent all that time. I've got your butterfly knife out.
I was wondering if you were looking at my Spyderco. I've got a somewhat hard to find Spyderco small butterfly knife. It is. Well, when I first got it, I was like, "This is too small to flip. No one should flip this. It's unsafe." But then I realized how they built it. Like its design purpose. It's got a big fat belly on it, and it has the those of you that know Spyderco knives, they're famous for their thumb hole. Instead of a post, they have a hole that you use your thumb to single hand open the blade with. Well, they have 2 of these stylized thumb holes on the ends of the grips of the handles here, and it makes for the fastest and one of the coolest and most addicting flip open and closes I've ever had in a knife. And literally, I will annoy the crap out of people if I keep this knife on me, because I will fidget with it and I will open it and close it incessantly because it feels so good, and it's totally a gravity operation. I don't flip this thing around like I would a Benchmade or my other one that we talked about last time. This one is only, I think the blade is 2.5 inches, maybe 3 inches, and the handle a little bit longer to accommodate the mechanisms and those thumb posts there. But it is a really fun knife to have.
Oh yeah, it looks like it. It looks like a stuff.
I'll have to get you I'll see if I can get you a picture of my multi-tool next time you're talking. I'll see if I can jam and get a quick picture of that too, so we can throw that in there.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I felt bad because I took a quick look at it and I was like, oh, there's his multi-tool that he was talking about, and I'm like, man, that thing looks really light. And then I started noticing there was no multi to the tool. It was just one knife, and I was like, Jesus, I just got suckered by myself. So I got nobody to blame but myself. But yeah, no, it's absolutely an awesome looking blade. Can't wait to see. I'm thinking that the Skeletor probably is that a little lighter or not?
The Skeletor is definitely pretty light compared to your typical like a Leatherman Wave or like the Gerber that you have pictured there.
Right.
I'm gonna run and grab it real quick. I'll be right back.
No worries at all, brother. And while you're doing that, I'll just say, folks, you are listening to the Boiler Room and Sword Point 9. And we're having an epic talk right now about blades, about different things. Just because we don't want to participate in the silliness that everybody else is, trying to talk about weirdness, with the current events, because really, do we really want to pay that much attention to the silliness going on today? I don't think so. And so this is about having a little bit of a refreshing time where we can all just get together, talk about something fun. And talking about fun stuff, that's the key to life, And like I said, I've got Hesher's stiletto up right now. And that looks like a nice stiletto.
Oh man, that's my cold steel. I think you're looking at there. That is a cold steel, the one with all the holes in the handle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a Cold Steel Tylite 6. So it's got a titanium internal locking system, I believe. And then this, I believe it's AUS 8 blade. But man, that thing is a beast. Like you put that sucker in your pocket, you better have man pants on because the handle
On that thing is more than 6 inches long. The blade is 6 inches long, and if you look at the way those what would you call those pieces of metal sticking out on either side of the swivel there, Kaiser?
I'm not sure, but those are what would actuate the pocket
Right.
deployment of
blade. So if you drag that out of your pocket, those little tabs, the metal tabs, will catch on the back of your pocket, and this thing comes out like, I mean, you feel like Crocodile Dundee when you draw this thing from your pocket and you engage that that pocket blade opener. That thing, like, I don't carry it very often because I honestly think it's overkill and it's really heavy. But man, when you do carry it, it's like having a small sword in your pocket.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's it kind of looks like a quillion, I think is what they call it. It's been so a quillion.
Oh, yeah.
Where you have like, but it does. You can see on the bends how it deploys. It's just like a Hest. Instead of using a cutout, it has a stick out. So I see what they did with that, and that's actually a really nice design. And you said Spyderco made that one, or Cold Steel?
This one's a Cold Steel. Spyderco was the flipper there, the Bally song, and this one is from Cold Steel. I believe that's Len, right, out of California. I think. Is he down near San Diego or something?
Oh yeah, Cold Steel is down in oh shoot, it's in San Diego, North County. Shoot, why am I mind dumping it? It's I've even got I should have taken a picture of that. An old bat they made called the oh shit, you gotta look at it.
Oh, yeah, they have some kind of slugger, right?
Brooklyn Smasher.
The Brooklyn Smasher. Oh, that's classic.
Yeah, it's a 40-incher, 42-incher. And the model is CS34. Unbreakable baseball bat. So that'll be funny. I should have put that in today and didn't even think about it. But yeah.
I used to love the Cold Steel stress test videos. I don't know if they still do them or not. I haven't seen one in a long time, but they used to always, whenever they'd put a product out, they would do practical real world stress tests on them, maybe even torture tests, you might say. I watched them put that bat on a curb, like lay it as an angle over a curb and drive a truck up it and then back, up it and then down it, and the thing was fine. I mean, so much of their gear, I've watched them take, like, some of their swords to deer and pig carcasses, and I mean, it's amazing the abuse that some of their stuff will go through. Yeah, their stuff. I mean, they have and folks, if you're
into the kind of like
a lot of the stuff they make is I don't know what to describe that as. I guess it's a polymer, some sort of molded polymer or something, but it's almost indestructible. And then they have a lot of like walking sticks, canes, and things like that. Like Irish shillelagh style, and African like big knob head style. And I've watched them stress test and use all those things on fruits and vegetables and bones and stuff like that. I mean, their stuff is really pretty well done, and it's inexpensive too. I like the fact that Cold Steel makes stuff for everybody. I mean, the expensive stuff is great and all, and you do get what you pay for in many ways. But with Cold Steel, I mean, it's, if you do want to abuse your stuff to the point of stress and breaking, I mean, Cold Steel is a great way to go because it's easily replaceable.
Oh, definitely. I just noticed I've been talking to my computer mic, so I'm sure everybody's going to be trying to hear it on my page. I now have my mic plugged in. Wow.
You sound much better now.
Yeah. So the point is, yeah, you're exactly right. They still do the torture test. They came out with a Warhammer, and that's an entertaining video. Just type on YouTube whatever Cold Steel makes, and you'll be able to see what they do with it. So it is an interesting thing to look at. Like you said, they'll hit it chainmail armor wrapped around a pig. They'll try to show you penetration. We were talking about it the other day with the Cold Steel Recon Tanto folders because of that rolling lock system, which I can't remember. You said it was renamed on the item that I was showing, which was the butterfly one. Anyways, that kind of knife. That locking method, they actually show a dude going up, those old handle things that you would climb up in gym to the top. They use the knives in a piece of wood, and they're going up, 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 up. They put like 600 pounds, 550, 600 pounds, and they embed that damn thing into it, and it just bends. It doesn't break the lock. And that's what you need. Both those knives that I've shown today, right now, look like they could take a lot of stress on their components. And with it being a titanium locking system, I guarantee the blade will break before the lock does.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'm getting a little bit of echo, Kaiser. Can you turn your speakers down a little bit, maybe? Check, check, check. Yeah, that's better.
We were fine before, but probably everybody will just get a distant Kaiser on it. So it's okay. I'm just dealing with it. So here we go. Were you able to find a piece of the or not a piece, yes, you did. Okay, got it.
Yeah, put it in your direct messages there. That is actually that's not my Leatherman Skele tool. That is my Gerber suspension right there.
Nice.
That would be the name of this one, the Gerber suspension. I've had this one for years. It's done me really well. I've done all kind of things with it, and it basically functions and looks as new as it was the day I got it, short of some, a little bit of wear and tear in the metal. But yeah, this is my main go-to right there.
Looks nice. Looks really nice. I can't complain about that. That looks really, really, really nice. I'm gonna throw that up right now. Add.
Yeah, it's been a good one to me. It's got a mini screwdriver, a mini flathead screwdriver, and I use that every time I open a Bic lighter package. I use that to pry off the child proofing on the Bic lighter. I think that might be the the piece of this multi-tool that has had more action than anything else on it, except maybe the pliers. But for prying, oh my gosh, I've pried a ton of things with that one small tool, and it's got a larger. It's got the full thing, It's got a Phillips head. It's got a large flathead. It's got a small flathead, which makes for a great pry bar because it's so short. It's great if you don't need a lot of leverage. It's got a can opener. It's got two saws. I guess one's a wood saw, and the other one I don't even know. See,
Looks like there's some sawage on it, and I've only got right now the closed one. It's very close, but that's what I'm gonna have to roll with at this point. And I'm gonna bring up the other photo here in a second. But yeah, no, that I think I've had one of them before, and they're pretty small. But if memory serves, it was really useful. Like you said, you could do a lot with a little. So that's an item that probably, I did have one. I think I paid like $25 for it or something. Is that about what you remember?
I think so. Yeah, this was. I believe this was purchased at REI. Remember, everybody, when we used to shop at stores instead of online, we used to go to sporting goods stores and stuff to find stuff like this. And yeah, I think I got this one at REI for probably in that price range, somewhere below $30.
Yeah, I think that's right, man. That's wild style. That
Yeah.
that it was like that, and that I'm gonna pull out the opened part of it now, so folks can see that one. I'm glad that we got this one out. This is actually, it brought back good memories because I can't remember, something happened to it. Like we said, one is none, two is one.
That's right.
It was one of those things that it gets lost in the sauce somehow. So, that's just the way of the world. And so make sure if you're doing anything, you want to always have enough to. Okay, well, that didn't work quite as the way I wanted it to.
Well, while you're working on that, I'm looking up on Blade HQ right now because I was curious to see if this has gotten more expensive over the years or if it's changed. And they have the current version of it. It's the Gerber Suspension NXT multi-tool, a 15-in-1, MSRP $35. Their price at Blade HQ $28.95. So if this episode is giving you multi-tool envy, there you go. You can pick one up at Blade HQ. This is not a sponsored comment or anything. Blade HQ, get at me if you're looking for anything. But yeah, $28.95 for this the modern version of this Gerber. It looks like they've improved it too. It looks it basically has the same loadout to it, but it's got kind of a new looking frame on it and a pocket clip, which mine does not have. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it looks really good, man. And it is. I see the little safety items they put on there now. I think when I got mine, they didn't have that, where it locks your blades down. There was a big thing that
is. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't meaning to interrupt you there, Kaiser, but yeah,
go on.
Great. Yeah, so there are little locking mechanisms on either handle so that when you pull out a tool, once it is fully deployed, the locking mechanism engages and it holds that tool out. I don't know if I can comment on how strong that locking mechanism is. I'm sure it's no roto lock or anything, so use appropriate force. But yeah, it is nice to know that if you slip or something like that, you have an angle problem, it's not going to just collapse on your fist while you're using a saw or a knife.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's one of the things that back in the day when they first were coming out, the old Leathermans and the first Gerbers. A funny thing is they relied on you holding on to both plier grips when you're using that tool in the open position. So you would inevitably either pinch your own hand on the actual jaws or cut it a little bit in the meat, or you would try to hold it one-handedly, and sometimes you slip and it comes back and it does cut. I can't imagine. I told you how many major cuts I have on me, but if I could only count the small cuts I have, and I'm sure everybody out there has them, sometimes they're nothing more than a paper cut from doing stuff like that. And yeah, so that is a good item. It was just one of those improvements that who knew that was going to come, right?
Yeah. Yeah, really innovative. Like I guess necessity is the mother of invention with something like that. People are only going to cut themselves and smash their knuckles so many times before, and the company hears about it. And that's one of the cool things about tool companies, blade companies, weapon companies, tactical companies. I find that on a whole, especially the ones here in the United States, are they very much rely on their customers for R&D and improvement, and they seem to do, as a whole, the industry here in the United States seems to have done a really good job at innovating and learning from their customers who put these things through the hardest use. And Kaiser, you would probably agree that the military is probably one of their best testing grounds because they are, they use the tools to their limit.
Exactly. Military, police, and fire are, especially for these type of things. I mean, you're not going to go to a construction worker to ask them how. Well, you can. A Mountainsmith did that with their products. The guy who owns that, he also owns. I believe I showed that bag one time in a video. It's actually an outstanding company called Kifferoo. It's the same guy, but he didn't want to alienate the hippies. His last name's Smith. I'm mind up in his name right now. He's from Montana, if memory serves. I met him one time. Anyways, that E&E bag that we were talking about one day, that's a unique thing. But I have the pouches for the multi-tools up right now, and you can see on the one pouch, it's a Pockets by Night Eyes. And I got a little reflective band that you can get for different work, and so I got that wrapped around it. But it also has a old military style handsaw along with the spare blade that came with it. You can see all this on the outside, but it goes over your belt. Carried it numerous times. I have a flashlight in it, a AA mag light, and a compass, a signal light. The compass, I believe, is a Silva, because that's normally what I use, but it's a small version of it. And then I have a bag from the Woodsman. I'm trying to read it, and my eyes are just bad. Anyways, Hidden Woodsman, that's what it's called. And inside of that, I have my Silva Ranger compass. It's one of the best compasses out there that's civilian. Have an old press and push type of Firestarter, and then I have the little like Bic lighter Firestarter that has a little fuel in it, and I have a match container, and that little silver thing that you see hanging off the lighter, that's where I put 50 or $100 in, just in case. It's a small little capsule, and it has a way that you bend the dollar around it, and it fits in that small item. And that's how, if you need to make sure you have some dollars and you need to hide it somewhere, that's what that's used for.
Yeah, that's a great idea, man. And nice kit there, definitely. That's a good setup.
Thanks. Now we'll go to the little fire thing. This is a bag that I have. It's a green bag, and inside it, this is where we get into some fun stuff. I laid out all the items. You won't see until the next page, and I should pull that up real quick just so you can see what it looks like. That was not where I wanted to go. Right there. UCO is the name of the company, and they make the Behemoth Stormproof Sweet Fire matches. These things give you about 10 minutes of burn time, so if you have dry wood, excellent to build a fire with. But when we go back to the rest of the fire starting kit, inside that tin, because it's made of tin, I have Ready Man. It looks like a cheese grater. It's actually to shave wood shavings off. Little arrows and fishing stuff in it. Wow, I forgot. I can actually point this stuff out. I have a shim, a saw. Also, I have in it handcuff keys that are totally flat. And then a magnesium card made by Schomer Tech. And then, of course, I'm a big fan. It's a military-owned company of Titan. And in that, I have a emergency survival blanket. Then up here, I have from Zippo. They make these. They're circular, but they have a hollow middle. And what happens is, as the sparks go down the middle, from that, like that little Zippo, or not, yeah, the Zippo-looking lighting tool, those sparks get down there. They catch really good. That'll give you some burn time. And then, of course, magnesium to the right. It's already shaved. And then I have a couple different fire starting kind of cottons that are treated, and there's only two in this picture. Two different. It's called Char Cloth. There's a way to make it. Do you want to talk about that? We can talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. I have a small fire kit. Yours is very thorough. I'm impressed with what I'm seeing here, and I'm seeing a couple of things I did not know were out there, like that Ready Man. That's really cool because if you have that, as fun as it is to make fire sticks and whittle kindling and all that stuff, you will dull your blade doing it. So if you have something like that Ready Man cheese grater looking thing, you really can save the edge on some of your tools. And I've never seen a magnesium card before. Is that just like what it sounds like? It's an entire card of magnesium, so you just scrape it into your fire pit to get your spark lit.
Oh yeah, and it burns at 2,000 degrees. That's why people who own VWs, when they would have car fires, we're talking old school VWs in the back rear wheel drive engines that had the four banger straight fours. When those engines would catch fire, they had to use a different type of. You couldn't put it out with water. You couldn't put it out just with what you would put out combustible gasoline. You couldn't put it out with that. You had to use it because it burns at 2,000 degrees and it's a bitch to put out. And it's a precursor to what we now use, and it's the one we replaced it with. It has been replaced again, which was called it sucks out the oxygen is how they kill it. They use them in tanks. You just pull from the outside or in the inside, and it puts it on the inside and outside. And if you're in there, it'll kill you because it'll suck the oxygen out of your lungs. I'll think about the name of that. I know, like I forgot a couple names of other things, but that's what the precursor to that was, what they had to use for a magnesium fire, because it burns so hot, and you can't put it out with just water. If you want to test this, go to Walmart, start yourself a nice fire in your fire pit, and throw a magnesium bar like you buy at Walmart, and just watch it go bright from it burning. It's an amazing looking fire.
Oh wow! Yeah, I bet. So tell me about the char cloths and how those work. I above your Ready Man there in the photo, I see those little those are, I forget what they call those, but I have some of those in my fire kit too. Those are also really impressive. How many fires you could start with just one of those things, right?
Oh yeah, you're talking about the little cotton things are treated with like some sort of my mix is like this. I'll just keep it simple for folks. You know that stuff that you get from for tiki torches, the stuff that keeps away the insects. That oil is all I treat those with, and they're just rounded cotton. And then of course it was Zippo who made the the orange looking ones that are cotton, and that's got a wax, and you just melt. The easiest way is you put the fluid in after you put in the wax. You put in wax and you can do it with cigarette butts too, folks. Just cut the paper off the cigarette butt, and then what you do is you put the oil in after you've melted the wax. Make sure to turn the fire off. Don't do it while the fire's on. And while it's still in a liquid state, you drop it in, you stir it, you use a perforated spoon, pull them out, put them on a paper towel, roll them a little bit to get the excess wax on, and you've just created your own little, it starts with a C, the oil. Why am I mind dumping? It's the tiki torch oil. That's what I use.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I'm blanking on the name of it too.
Yeah, it's crazy. Sorry, old man disease is spreading.
I guess.
Uh, Char Cloths easy. If you have a tin, like I have a Duke Cannon solid cologne tin right in front of me right now. It's a product that I buy, and the cologne comes in like a paste. Well, when I'm done with them, what I'll do is normally use them for containers, but I also have one dedicated for char cloth. So you find something that's cloth, it could be any kind of rope, anything. You put it in there with a little hole at the top. You put it in the coals. You don't put it in an open fire. And you leave it sit there. And as you're seeing smoke, you're seeing smoke. When the smoke stops, pull it off using tongs or something that's fireproof, like a mitt, and you pull it out. Let it cool, open it up, and then put it in some sort of plastic bag. And try to keep them separate from each other. If you've done multiple ones, at least bend the bag to put the second one in. It's real fragile, and that's why it goes in that tin, because in that tin, that UCO tin of the Behemoth matches, that's why I put it in there, because it keeps it from disintegrating. And of course, in that picture with the Behemoth tin, you also see my military, circa 1986 was when that was made, because I got it that year, and that's the date stamped on it. And I got it in Europe, and have the full knife, fork, spoon, military issue mess tin, great for cooking. So in that thing, you keep it. All you got to do to keep that thing perfectly clean, get yourself some Brillo pads, and keep that clean that way. And oh, by the way, you can also use Brillo pads to start a fire. Not actual Brillo pads, but that kind of material. Steel wool.
Oh yeah, I've seen people keep steel wool in their fire kits. I've also seen people keep cotton balls that have been saturated with like Vaseline. There's all kinds of DIY stuff that you can do out of common household items to beef up your fire kit.
Exactly, and that's kind of the point, folks. We're having fun. We're teaching a little something, some field craft. Me and Hesher just here having a good time and getting our minds off the bullshit going on.
Absolutely. And I can't recommend enough that people I personally, I'll just say it this way. I personally one of the things we do a lot of media maniacking, a lot of newsing around here, a lot of geopolitics and all this stuff that's really heavy. And one of the things I find myself doing to decompress and use YouTube in a way that I don't have to be mad at YouTube about is by looking at gear hacks and things like this, you know. So anything we said today or continue to say in this series, just take the keywords and punch them into YouTube, and you will find a plethora of folks out there, bushcraft folks, hobbyists, former military people, professional survivalists, newbies, discussing all these things and talking about it and showing their experience with it. And, you know, that's just one of the things that I love about YouTube, which, you know, sucks because YouTube is turning into something else. But the fact that all that legacy knowledge is out there and that people continue to update everyday carry videos, gear videos, fire kit videos, you know, bug out stuff, rifles, knives, you know, whatever it is you're into. If you're hearing something on it, I guarantee you can have some fun decompression and learn some skills just by sitting down with, you know, folks like Kaiser on YouTube. If you look at his accounts, you'll see a lot of stuff like this that we're talking about up there.
Oh yeah, brother, and that's the whole thing. It's about content creation, and I agree with you. The way it's getting taken over by commercial, i.e., CNN, Fox, it matters not. The newsy things, and these people that they're funded by somebody, and that's what they want to push on you. Where I'm more than happy to watch the Iowa Woodsman. That guy's stellar. I think we brought him up on the show the last time. Josh asked a question one time, and I answered him on that. And the other one that I mentioned is the gray-bearded Green Beret. Look, here's how I look at YouTube. I have to shout out other content creators. They don't have to shout out me. If I see good content, I want them to get the action, get people looking at them. You know, I'm not the end all be all source. And I did sleep in a Holiday Inn hotel last night, right? The Express. But I'm not an expert, and I don't like experts. So that's kind of my opinion on it, brother. Your thoughts?
Yeah, me too. That's what I love about it, that you can that's why I mentioned that whole range of folks you can see talking about stuff like this. I mean, you personally out there, you may relate to one type of person better than another. Well, you've got plenty of people to pick from online, and don't consider everybody online an expert. That's like considering everybody who carries a cell phone an expert or something like that. But having that discernment and figuring out which presenters and creators you relate to and which ones are doing things that relate to what you're interested in. That's the whole fun of going through all this stuff. And man, I got to give some props to the YouTube community of creators when it comes to all things related to what we're talking about, because they really brought a lot to YouTube.
And I agree with that. That's one of the points I think that I've tried to keep. My main aim is on my YouTube is always to make better men, just because I'm not a female, and to teach and tell people, what mentorism did for me. And but I love to play like this. It's what I started my first channel that I had to sacrifice on. Uh, it just is what it is. I was able to do videos back then, but the type of camera I was using, that company went out of business. I used to use a Kodak Easy Share. It was super easy to do. You just plugged it in, uploaded it straight to YouTube. And now they've made cameras where you have to put the SD card in. And if you don't have a computer that has an SD card adapter, you're screwed.
Yeah, I know, man. It's like you got to keep up with the tech to be able to keep uploading, and man, it changes fast. Everything's SD or micro SD these days, and man, when it comes to creating content for YouTube now too, the bar is so high because uh, you know, not only can you learn all this stuff online, you can also learn how to YouTube online. So, people they get into camera tech and lighting tech and all that stuff, and they just get, really good footage. So it's a good thing, definitely, that people have that skill and the quality's gone up. But yeah, I know what you mean, man. It makes it kind of hard to keep up.
Oh yeah, brother. But that's all good. We're still in a positive zone though. Hey,
Absolutely.
I've got the East German shovel that we will feature for a second. It is inside of an old U.S. Army pouch. It doesn't have the normal kind of thing, so you'll see that I use a lot of 550 cord to actually put it on a pack or something that I'm using it with. So, but that's actually the best pouch I've found for the East German folding shovel. And then I'll pull it out and you'll be able to see why. When I was talking to you and it was very nebulous, now I have a Camelback sticker on it just because when I used it last and I painted it, I wanted to know if, there was a reason why I put the sticker on. If that sticker was gone, I would know some fuckery was afoot. And of course, there was no fuckery, so there it is. The little leather tabs that I was talking about on the canvas, you can see them very pronounced. So the saw blade and the sharpened blade do not cut into the canvas. And that's why I said you have to be careful on the type of carrying that you put it in. Anyway, so then it's still folded, and you can see on the folded one. A matter of fact, let me get the open one up, and with that, you'll see on the side. It's a little closer picture. That's why I did that. you'll see in the middle, that's a nail puller. So you can also pull nails. It's also good for pulling out those little small stakes that come with most tents nowadays. So, and you can see where you can put actual bolts in on every part of it. So if you lose your wood, it's not a problem. You can take the little file on your multi-tool, file off that nub, push it right out. Always have a bolt with you that fits through that hole. It's about a little under a quarter inch, 3/8 of an inch. And you get that little bolt put through there, and you can use a nice piece of oak that you cut down, and you can even make a longer shovel handle if you need to, for a longer time. Your thoughts, brother?
Oh, it really helps to have the visuals on this one. I was imagining it last time we spoke about it, but yeah, I can see exactly how useful that might be. Definitely would be, actually. And I love the concept of the nail and stake puller there. It's placed perfectly. I mean, you've got so much leverage for that. I imagine you could really deconstruct something quickly using that.
Oh, most definitely. It's the most. I try to tell people a lot of people will bring up the Spetsnaz shovel. And it's a good item. You can buy one from Cold Steel. They make probably a better version than the Soviets did. But the East Germans, when they first started, they were still using, believe this or not, they were communists and still using Nazi gear. They were using Behemoth shovels. And East Germany pretty much went our way with shovels, making them trifold, which means you fold the head, you fold the handle. So now you have it's like a 3-sectional staff if people need to try to put it in their mind in a certain way. But that is actually what they did. The East Germans never did. They kept the wooden handle. I have one that I normally use. This one I haven't used in a long time because it's picture worthy. I used it. Just because there's no nicks in the blade, there's no bashing, and even though it was painted like I think 5 or 6 years ago when I first stowed it, it came out really well, and so that's why I used that one for this show. But the other one, I've got bolts in it, so I'm telling you from stuff I know. On the back side of it, I think if I go back to the folded version, I think I did. No, I didn't turn it over. Damn it. So that's my fuck up. On the back side of it, I did put a bolt through it. So where it connects into where you see the little rivets. So yeah, that is what I did with that. So there is one bolt in it, but the other one, it has them on both places, just as an example. The other one's already been shipped, bro. So
okay,
that's what I had laying around.
No, that's great visuals there. So you prefer the wooden handle to the collapsing one. I can see why it looks like this would be much better. Because I mean, if you need to get a new one, you just get a new wooden piece, right? Whereas if you have one of these folding deals, I mean, I don't know. I don't use them. I don't know how sturdy they are. But just thinking about a folding handle on a tool like that, I would immediately conceptually prefer a nice wooden handle like that.
Oh, they're pretty sturdy. The trifolds. Here's two things that aren't good on them. One, they have a grommet in there. It's like it's not really a rubber. It's a polymer. And I wanted to try to find the one I do have. I do have one left. It's made out of aluminum. So if you want paint to stick to it, you have to bake it. I learned this the hard way, and that's why I still have this one here. I put it in an oven at a specific temperature for only 10 minutes. And then I had to break it in for about 6 hours one night while I drank beer and was bored out of my mind. a matter of fact, I wasn't bored out of my mind. I think I was listening to Boiler Room that night, and I was listening to oh, what was it after that? Probably John B. Wells, and I just kept working it to where it would finally work because it all melted into like a goo that hardened, so the elasticity was gone. And I call my stupidity on that. I never knew it had that. So that's my, and I've been using the folded ones while I was in the military, at least for certain field problems where you had to have regular U.S. gear. But in combat, every time I've deployed, I've used an East German shovel. But I just found that shit out, I think, whenever it was I started listening to you guys, 3 or 4 years ago. 2015, 5 years ago. Okay. So yeah, that's one weakness, and the other one is I've seen them break, and because it's aluminum and the tube, I've seen people try to rig one. You can't. Once the back end or the front end snaps, there is no way to put anything on, so you are without shovel completely.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm looking at a picture. Thanks, Ruckus. Ruckus put a picture of the standard folding one up. It actually looks really nice. I can see why people might prefer it. It folds down to a really nice footprint there, but I can see what you're saying there with regards to its potential vulnerabilities. I think once that thing snapped or a piece of it broke, you would be out of a tool for now. That's probably the kind of tool you don't carry two of. I don't know if the one is none applies with something so heavy in your kit.
Exactly. You don't carry two e-tools. So now
Don't take one is none too far, folks.
yeah. Now the e-tool that the U.S. military issues, believe it or not, it's really light. So if you wanted to throw an extra one and you didn't mind humping that weight, humping means hiking, walking long distances, and up hills, down hills. That's a terminology from the military. If you don't mind humping that weight, yeah, you can put another one in, but on certain field problems, especially icy ground or tundra, like on Adak, Alaska, where the grass has been growing for so long, you're using it more like a pickaxe. A matter of fact, we'll have to do a show sometime on just the military pickaxe that collapses, that a lot of people don't even know exist. And we're not talking pioneer tools that fit under the vehicle. I'm talking one that can go on your belt. They stopped putting those out to everybody in the 50s. You will find U.S. versions with a little spike on the end that supposedly would help you do that. But yeah, going through tundra, the problem is it's worse than frozen ground, because the grass roots almost make a bond like cement with the earth, and it'll snap an e-tool one way or the other. And that's all I had to say on that, brother.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Definitely.
Cool. So on this same slide, I have the drop leg holster, or holster is the wrong word, mag pouch, made by Viper. It's a company from overseas, and so my EOD kit and the Viper kit, it would carry 8 mags instead of your standard 6 that the U.S. military usually uses. So, and it'll carry AK or AR mags. And that pouch is outstanding. If folks need a good bit of kit, look up Viper pouches, mag pouches. And I think you'll enjoy that. And I have a Safariland, it's a newer version, that'll hold, it's for a Glock, but it'll hold a light. That holster is absolutely a brilliant bit of kit. It's Kydex in tan and color. So your thoughts on that, brother?
Oh man, I've been looking at holsters a lot lately, and I've noticed that Safariland, particularly their light bearing holsters and the ones that have the the shield on the top for the RMR red dots that are becoming more and more standard on people's pistols lately are those are clearly an apex predator in the market. Most of the tack companies now are making different mounting systems for those. They seem to be um, very, very nice products. I was really impressed with everything I saw from the current Safariland lineup. They're expensive, but I think it's because you're getting really high quality. And I don't know if we want to go down the path of different levels of retention and all that. But for those of you that know, some sidearms and some jobs require you to have certain levels of retention, level 1 retention and whatnot. And Safariland seems to really lead the way in that particular field right now. So they make great gear. And as far as like mag holders and pouches and stuff, yeah, there's so many options now. HSGI makes some really good ones, and RDR makes good ones, and A&R Designs. I mean, with Kydex technology and development and CAD machining and all this, all the stuff that's available for small businesses out there right now, the quality has really gone up in a lot of this gear in the last 10 years.
I completely agree. The knife pouch, well, we talked about it earlier. The knife sheaths, I almost said pouches like a moron. The Kydex sheaths, the Kydex holsters, they have a high heat threshold. They're just hands down probably some of the best ways to do it. I'm going to throw from that. I do believe you covered most of them. There's a lot of upstart companies that are veteran owned and or just not veteran owned that produce really good everyday carry gear. So I won't shit on any of them. Most of them have their shit together. Just look and see the comments on people who bought their gear. They're going to tell you the truth. That's one thing about gun owners and gear queers. I say it all the time. We try to be honest in the appraisal of any item that we're talking about. And
that's very true. I didn't mean to interrupt. That's very true. I've noticed that even on YouTube videos that are sponsored, like sponsored reviews, people are still very honest, and they'll always let you know that it's sponsored or that it was sent to them for free for review or something like that. So it's never like sneaky under the table that it's a sponsorship. And they're also very many of them are also very good at proving their use, like showing how long they've used it, what they've done with it, what they learned. So yeah, it is generally speaking a very forthcoming and honest community of users.
oh, I agree totally. That's one thing I think with content creators. If they do have a sponsor, they'll say, yeah, they're a sponsor, but I use it. And they'll say, it's just like with me, Patriot Supply, I use. It's a freeze-dried type of food. I use that. I found that and Mountain House to be the two best sources of freeze-dried food, just for basic preparedness or survivalism. However you want to phrase it, I prefer survivalism, but I'm sure if I said that, some people will say, white supremacists. They do a really good job of vilifying people. And anyways, I don't want to get into politics. The point is, terminologies should never change because words mean things. And that's all I have to say on that. Now with that, I'll bring a little lighter one. I don't know if I shared this with you yet. I don't think I did, damn it. We were talking about it the other day when I said there's different kinds of scarves, bandanas, if you want to say it correctly. And they're out there, and they have, remember, if you're cold, if you're hungry, your mind might slip. I said you can find these little scarves bandanas, and you can have them with you, and they will help key your mind into things if you forget something. And in this one picture on the left, I have, there goes my dogs now. You want to talk for a minute, man?
Yeah, sure. My dogs are listening on the speaker out front, so when the stream catches up to them, they're probably going to bark at your dog barking. So we're going to get in a feedback loop here. But yeah, don't forget where you were. But I just want quickly, I'm kind of like trying to collect pictures and links for the things that we've talked about so far. And I also found a link to this Leatherman Skele tool that I have. And it's pretty affordable also at Blade HQ. That's a $69.95 for this one. It's very light. It's only 5 ounces. It's got a 2.6-inch blade. You get it in multiple colors. Only 4 inches when closed. And it's got a nice pocket clip and a carabiner on it. So yeah, there you go. Just to circle back and kind of let people know where they could find that one and what that goes for. And then if you look at, I know we're kind of out of the multi-tool section here, but just to wrap up, if you look at the Leatherman selection, it's pretty crazy. They have some that are like $150. They go anywhere from I don't know, like 40 to over 150 or so. But man, there is such, I'm amazed at like the size of the selection. Like they have a Leatherman Charge Plus, 154.95 on sale. The MSRP is even higher, but this thing's a 19-in-1 and titanium, so it's pretty crazy, like the options that we have out there in the marketplace.
Exactly. My dogs are now cooled out. Our neighbor, I asked him earlier to stop using fireworks, and he let off a firework. That was what caused that retardation from my puppalups, and hopefully your dogs aren't reacting to my dogs. Um, but yeah, so anyways, there's ones on foraging, first aid, and notice all the scarves are different colors. There's a purple one, a white one, different shades of orange. There's a green one. There's a red one. There's multiple ones, and I stacked them up on a table and used. I actually had to use one of my backpacks, which will cover backpacks one day. I had to stack them on top of it so that I could show the different colors. There's even an OD green one, olive drab green. So the point is, you don't want there to just be one color. It needs to look off for a pilot or somebody. If you're marking an area, they have something called signal panels, and you can do different things with signal panels. You can make a walking K, which means, I'm going this way, or whatever you're doing at the time. There's a lot to it that the military issued, and they use like a reddish orange and an orange, a real bright orange, and you always manipulate it in a certain way to send a signal to, let's say, a landing helicopter or to rescuers. I'm lost. And that's a whole different show, because I've got marking things that we can do. We could do that in the bag because it's very brief. There's just a lot out there that people don't know, and a lot of companies. Just type in signal, or type in, trying to think how to look them up. Probably survival scarves or survival bandanas. I bet that's how you'll find it. Yeah, survival bandanas. Look, a lot of this stuff I've never had to purchase, so I'm just trying to tell you where I think it will be and how to look it up. I have to be honest on that. I didn't have to purchase most of this shit, or I wouldn't have a whole Conex box full of it. Trust me.
You can go to Amazon, man, and type in exactly what you said, survival bandana, and there's a whole slew of options that show up, and they've got, this is actually a good visual aid. I'll drop it in the Discord chat. It's got pictures of the kind of things that you might find on there. So the one I'm looking at has a first aid response, 8 steps to first aid response, and then it's got how to tend to wounds as a section. It's got acute mountain sickness and other physiological things that you might feel. It's got the best practices for treating someone in shock, insect bites, snake bites, and hypothermia and overheating. So that's a really nice piece of kit to have right there, and it's useful. Hopefully you'll never need to read the words on it if your hikes and adventures go well, but it's there if you don't. And then it's useful for all other things. Handkerchief, and they have one for clouds, they have one for survival, they have one for fly fishing knots, desert wildflower descriptions. They even have one, close your ears Ruckus, for sharks, to tell you different kind of sharks. So lots of options out there, and very affordable, and I even yes, foraging, yes, absolutely. I'm seeing one like that, and there's a whole market on like Etsy and Instagram of small businesses that make these type of things out of really, really nice materials. So you can get inexpensive functional ones like the one I'm describing, or you can get a high-end one, something really nice. If you just look on Etsy or Instagram, look up Hanks, Hanks.
That is way cool, dude. Thank you for doing that for me, because I didn't know where to look it up. I was guessing. I have all those different colors put up just to show you. There's a plethora of stuff, and I've got foraging, first aid, knots. The knots are all covered up, except you'll see the purple and the white. Those two are not ones. And like I said, it's like you said, hypothermia, being dehydrated, acute mountain sickness. Your mind's not going to work. You have to realize this. So there, I have one for fire starting, basic fire starting. Let's not get complicated about it. There's something. A lot of people need to look this dude up. He's really good. I'm mind up in his name now, but he wrote a book that I bought my wife the entire collection of. David. Anyways, he finds these stories where people get lost in the woods, hunters, kids, this, that, and the other. It's called 911. Anyways, something 411, something 411. Anyways, his whole series is called it's Can-Am. I do remember his website, Can-Am. And what he does is he documents these people that for some reason they always get found two ways, and it's usually in the winter, when it's not necessarily in the winter, but a squall happens, something happens, and they'll find them, and it's totally counterintuitive. They'll find them naked because they strip off their clothes, because there's some sort of delirium that happens when you're cold. I've never been that cold. I was probably close to it once in Afghanistan, but not that cold. Where people will feel warm because they're becoming numb, and they'll strip off their clothes, and then they die of exposure. Same thing in the heat, and mountaineering is the same way. Natural knows about that stuff. So I mean, it just David Paulides. David Paulides.
There you go.
That's his name. David Paulides. His website's like Can-Am.
The website is canammissing.com.
That's it. Missing
Can-Am
411. Yeah.
.com, and the book is missing. Well, there's actually it looks like there's even a I don't know if it's a documentary or a series, but there's a video called Missing 411, and there are books also. Yeah, so you can. We'll put a link on the show page for that. There's one called Missing 411, The Hunted, which is available on Prime Video. And yeah, so and then the book is Missing 411 Off the Grid. It's available on paperback. Again, that's David Paulide, Paulide.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paulides.
Yep. And he has them on hunters. We're talking about experienced folks. That's why I say I don't believe in experts. Experienced folks, this happens to them. So, folks, if you think you're impervious to it, that's why it was a big thing when I brought it up on the first show to get these scarves, just to mentally refresh yourself. And yeah, I'm an old guy. You guys can say all that, but I know how to tie knots. I know first aid. I know it all the way up to a CLS, combat lifesaver situation. We'll do one on first aid, I think, too, when we do bags, because I'll pull that out. The interesting thing is, don't think it can't happen to you. There's an old adage I used to say, never say three things, or these three things are always prevalent. Eat anything, sleep anywhere, and never, this is the never part, never say it can never get any worse, because as soon as you do, it will. And that's words to live by. And the second part of the screen, I've talked to everybody about what's called the Unbreakable Umbrella. I have it stacked on all those, in my backpack, all those scarves, so you guys can get a good view of it. And that thing is so useful, first to keep the shade off you, an emergency tent if you need it, for, a time, until you can build a more resilient shelter. But it also has some self-defense features to it. So, in the chat, in our area, I'm the Mary Poppins, dude. I carry an umbrella, and that's the reason. It's got a 4-foot circumference when it pops open. It pops open very quickly. If somebody's trying to mace you or whatever, it's a viable tool. And if you need to defend yourself, up to and including a baton, that will work. It will stop the blows. And it has a 5-year guarantee from the date of purchase. If it gets messed up, they will replace it for free. Your thoughts?
Is this what we're seeing in some of the protests? We're seeing people carrying umbrellas. I was not hip to the Unbreakable Umbrella. I'm looking at their website right now. This is a very intriguing product to me. This is quite the tool.
Exactly. It is a tool. You can work it like a Monadnock PR24, except you don't have the extension on the front of it. But it's the same way. The bend on it is enough that you can wring somebody's leg and pull them off balance. You can stop somebody. It's sort of flat on the bottom. You can't really tell in the picture. You can push it away to push somebody away. You can do a pull cue jab with it. It's got a metal end. Let me move the picture so people can see that. It has a metal end. It's fully how do I put it? It's fully, a good way to put it. It's fully, it just looks like you're out for a Saturday walk. It's nondescript. It's nothing. And, what looks more gray man than carrying an umbrella? It could be hot. You need to keep the sun off you. It could be cold. You need to keep snow off you or the wind. And trust me, I've had that thing out in gale force winds. It could be raining. Well, you're protected from the rain. And It'll also stop mace. It'll stop acid. And there's even, if you're on the right site, you'll see a place where they dumped gasoline on the umbrella and ignited it, and the guy's standing under it. So it'll briefly stop a fire from getting on your ass.
Yeah, there's some really cool cold steel style videos on here. I'm excited to watch after the show. They've got a representative or an owner, I'm not sure who, standing on one. He's got it over two chairs, standing on the umbrella, and it's being held up by two chairs. He's got his entire weight plus an American Bulldog standing on it. There's a video of him doing a like a axe strike, like a downward two-handed strike on a watermelon. He takes it to a Everlast punching bag, and yeah, a little self-defense video on it. And I'm looking at the tip here on it. This is great. I mean, this doubles as a cane. I mean, there are a lot of people who may need a cane and don't want to carry a cane. Well, my goodness, you could get one of these umbrellas, and it could be a cane, a self-defense item, an actual umbrella, or something to hide yourself from tear gas or apparently falling napalm.
Well, here's the funny part, folks. Due to the ACA, Americans with Disabilities Act, you can go see your doctor and say, man, my ankle's really hurting. Can you write me a note that I'm flying out and I need to have, a cane? Well, it's a cane umbrella. And guess what? You can fly with it. Pro tip.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. I have a umbrella with that I've always fancied to be somewhat like this, although I've never used it to break anything or stood on it or defend myself, luckily. But I picked it wasn't expensive. I think I actually got it at a mall like in the early 2000s, but its primary feature is that it has an honest to goodness carbon fiber shaft. Not a lot of things out there look like carbon fiber these days, but are not. But yeah, that thing has been unbreakable pretty much. I mean, I have used it I do use it like a cane. I don't really need one, but when I carry it out and about, I pretty much walk with it as though it's a cane, and I've really liked it. So thanks, Kaiser, for turning me on to the Unbreakable Umbrella. I'm gonna get one of these for me and one for my dad.
Always remember this. There's another one called the Indestructible Umbrella. The Unbreakable Umbrella boys took out a test, a no BS test. When you watch the video, you'll see the Unbreakable withstood what the Indestructible, they call it the Indestructible Umbrella, the fraudulent one, could not withstand. So, and it's the Indestructible is cheaper, by the way. So, don't throw your money away. Buy one umbrella and keep it for life. I've had this since 2000, I think 10 or 9 when I first started using it, and it's even went with me in certain places that were fairly high threat, but I needed to keep a low profile.
Great tool, great tool. Thank you for turning us on to that one. I would not have known about this otherwise. Oh man, that's great. I'm familiar with Blue Force Tracker concepts, and for anyone that's not out there, it's I guess that would be a military and police terminology for knowing where your friends are, for your friendly forces, your allies. It's having situational awareness over a large field of operation. and for that to be available to families and friends and colleagues that are banding together and coming up with survival plans right now, because that's something that people are taking seriously all of a sudden. This whole survival industry was really big in between like 2010 and 2012, 2013, and it kind of fiddled out a little bit after all the apocalyptic hubbub of that era kind of went away, and we went into this next phase leading up to arguably this year in 2020. But yeah, this is a really cool feature. I'm glad you mentioned that, Kaiser, because that's a I had like when I was starting this stuff back in the you know uh, 2010s or something like that, or early teens. Like I had a list. I kind of went through all these videos and stuff and educated myself, and I had a list of things I actually really wanted to have in my kit, and then things I hoped to get to the point that I could shop for. And GPS stuff, unfortunately, fell down that list far enough that I don't own any of it. So yeah, this is cool to see this and know that it has that feature. And how does, to someone who would say, well, my iPhone or my Android has all that on it, I don't need one of these, what would you say to that person?
If the cell phones go down, guess what? You don't have that feature.
Yeah,
And it can be
exactly.
turned off by a satellite, and so can garments. Don't get me wrong, but at least it buys you. Maybe it buys you more time. Maybe it buys you enough time that you'll still have the ability to communicate within 3 miles via radio. So it's a wise choice. It is. You have to remember, since it is a civilian version that you'll be buying, it has about 10 meters off, so it's not exact. So you're going to be about 10 meters off, but I'm sorry, you can hear me say, "Hey, how's it going?" from 10 meters. So, and notice I didn't yell. I didn't go, "Hey, how's it going out there?" No, I didn't do that. I went, "Hey, how's it going?" You'll hear me at 10 meters. Um, so it's a good item. The batons are sort of a LARP. It's a baton I carried on the left-hand side as a federal cop. Uh, I believe it's 26 inches. And then the other one, it has the baton case for because it is, for a asp baton. And then the other one is a spring-loaded baton. It's a spring. When I worked with the Germans in Germany, that was what we were issued. It was spring-loaded. The funny thing about that is, if you hit somebody with it, especially if you get them in the cush, because it bends, you can actually hit to the cush, the head. But the interesting part is when it folds back and it goes boom, 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 automatically, it repeatedly hits. You're pulling hair every time the spring expands and contracts. So you're ripping hair out of their head, which will usually stop somebody from being an asshole.
Yeah, I could imagine. It's the "don't be an asshole" stick.
Exactly, and it's not even a stick. That's the thing about it. I mean, if you hit them with the tip, you can really hurt them, but that's not what it's built for. It's meant to stop somebody from being an asshole, just like an asp baton. An asp baton solid, hits to the head, even for cops, are illegal. It's to the meaty portions of the thighs and the arms, and that's what it's built for. And pull cue jabs to the solar plexus or somewhere like that. You're not trying to kill somebody with it if you actually are a civilized human being, and that's kind of my point with that. I just did that, like I said, for a LARP and for fun. Everybody can say, well, it doesn't sound fun to me. I get it, but it's just funny to remember back. Anyways,
Well, there. I will say this with regards to batons and telescoping batons. They just feel good in the hand, and they're really cool to deploy and then to jam into the ground and put back into the handle. There's something satisfying in the tactile way not tactical, tactile way when you have one of these. And there's a lot of occupied states around here that are not constitutional, and you got to check your local laws for, if you're allowed to carry one of these or not. But in some places, you may not be able to carry lethal force if you want to legally, and you might be able to carry one of these. I was watching a video recently of a guy who got mugged on the way home, and he picked up I think Smith and Wesson or one of those companies makes telescoping batons. Also, he picked up one of theirs with the big rubberized handle, and he was talking about just how good it feels in his hand and how it made him feel more confident after having this experience that kind of took him down a notch. So something to be said for LARPing with the collapsing batons. For those of us that don't need them in our workplace, it's also a good thing to keep in the car if that's legal. You never know when you might need a don't be an asshole stick.
Yeah, check your state and local laws on that, folks. Do not get hemmed up and gemmed up because of this show. This
on
is
all things. Check your state and local laws on anything we talk about, because you never know. I mean, even some of the knives that we've talked about, I don't know state to state, county to county, what's legal and what's not. And I'm from California, where it's ridiculous, and it's even worse in some of the eastern states.
Oh yeah, you're not going to hear me dispute that a bit. The one thing is with the baton, and that's why it never, as long as somebody has a training card, I wouldn't have a problem with anybody carrying a baton, because it's a less than lethal weapon. As long as you're trained and you're not hitting the spots that will kill somebody or give them serious bodily harm. SBH is a real thing. If you've done something that gives somebody serious bodily harm and you've deployed it wrong, you are culpable. You will stand trial for that. And just to make sure you guys understand why Hesher and I are both saying this correctly. There goes my dog's barking. And we'll jump into the pictures of a few small micro kits, and let's just let them whine. I guess they're fine whining. My wife's probably home. Okay, I'm gonna hold off for a second.
Okay, while Kaiser gets the dog settled there, I will remind everybody we're broadcasting live at alternatecurrentradio.com here through the Boiler Room live feed, and we're kindly simulcasting on behalf of Sword.9 over there on YouTube, out of the big orange couch at Kaiser's Castle here today on this June the 23rd. And you can check our website out. It's alternatecurrentradio.com. You can find our copy of this episode in podcast form up there. Find all the Boiler Rooms up there. Sunday Wire, news show, The Daily Ruckus, on every day at 11 a.m. Central here on alternatecurrentradio.com, hosted by Ruckus. Great show. And Sunday Wire on Sundays. So check us out on the web. And of course, if you're not, I assume if you're listening to this on YouTube, you must already be a subscriber. But if you're listening to it on the Boiler Room podcast stream, get on over to Sword.9 and tap that subscribe button.
Smash it! No, hey, I'll tell you. When you said smash that subscribe button, I couldn't resist. The one, not really. If I'm very open-handed, you can come and go as you please. It doesn't bother me. I've been trolled. I don't care. But the interesting thing, you said something earlier, and I realized that I was muted. Now I can't remember why, but on my channel there's going to be a blank section. You heard it, but nobody else did, because I didn't. I've been having to work I had to do my mic and also shut it down in OBS. So There was a part where my OBS was shut down and you gave an answer. And folks, I actually asked that question. So he answered, and you can figure out the question. It was earlier, and I just forgot to mention it. I was going to, but we had a good flow. Okay, so in this I'm doing a micro kit. and I have something called Survivor cord. And it's unique. If you go look up earlier, I showed you a veteran-owned company for a survival type of blanket when we were in the fire kit section. Look up that company and you'll find out who makes Survivor cord. And in it you have it looks like 550 cord. You have all that cord in there, but within that cord you also have some fire cord, which means you just pull a piece of that out and you can help start a fire. Also, it has a piece of copper, so that if you need to tie something up with copper, a very small strand of it, you can do that. Let's say you're building something a little finer than your house. It also has a higher tensile strength. It becomes 660 pound test. And it also has 40 test pound filament, if memory serves, 30 or 40. So there's a lot in that cordage. So if you're going to use the cord, that's what I would suggest. It costs more. It's like 25 bucks for 100 foot, I think, of cordage, but it's well worth it. And I got turned on to that. Got to give props to the gray-bearded green beret. That's in my small kit. Then, thanks to my brother Craig Sword and Miltac, I have a pin, a defensive pin, and a tanto bladed knife. And also I have, it's made by a company that everybody will laugh at, but it's actually a pretty good item that I fell in love with. And it's not a perfect knife. That's why it's in that kit that you see that's all sewed up. It's called an SL Pro. And what it is, it has a flashlight on it. It also has a whistle. And on the other end of the flashlight, it has a striker. This knife has traveled with me everywhere. I do not leave home without it. Or that kit. And then, same thing from the gray-bearded green beret. I got turned on to this from him. And it's something called a, rip spool. And the nice thing about it is, the rip spool is a mending kit. You can put more duct tape on it if you want. But the cordage is something around the lanyard part that you see is from a I can't think of the company's name. It's called Fire cord. It also has a piece of fire in it. It has a needle. The neat thing is the needle fits in this groove, and you can actually push through thick canvas or leather with it. It has the thread that it has is 30-pound test. I have to remember my stats. Sorry, folks. 30-pound test. So you can fish with it, or you can use it to sew thick stuff. So it can be a palm push through. Then you'll see some arbitrary fire starters. And then you'll see batteries. Duracell 384/392s. The reason why I got those, it took me 4 months to find out the type of batteries I needed for that damn flashlight. And I still can't find a replacement bulb. So, because they quit making the SL Pro. But it's a good little round piece of tool that you can have. It has, like I said, a whistle, a flashlight, a knife. It has serrations on the knife. It's not the best of tools, but it hasn't failed me yet, and it actually holds a decent blade. And what I will say with Miltac, Craig Sword's company, that is, he went titanium. He's got pistol grips for 45s, all kinds of things. That's how I got turned on to that, and I'll always pimp Craig just because he's a brother, a legit good dude, and his customer service, even when he was part owner with Mission Knife and Tool, I will tell you this: his customer service. If I called him, he'd call me sometimes just to bullshit with me if I was on Skype and I was not working in '05 and '06. So a stalwart, good man. Oh, and the one thing next to the cordage, the survival cord, those are just military boot lacings. Not boot lacings, but boot blousing rubbers. You guys can look that up, and if you want to purchase them, you can. But that's the point.
Yeah, nice materials there. If anyone wants to check him out, it's www.mil-tac. That's mil-tac.com.
Cool. I haven't kept up with.
See some nice fixed blade knives there on his site. Tactical defense pens, Right in the Rain notebooks. He's got folders, rescue knives, EOD operator accessories, obviously tools. So yeah, this is a good resource for people that are digging what we're doing here today, Kaiser.
Oh yeah, and I asked him permission if I could mention his name and his company, and he gave me permission. So that's why I did it, brother. Also, I want to shill for Extant Labs. That stuff from every account is the most phenomenal lube. And you brought up both of their lubes in the last show for knives and for gun oil. Can you do that again, brother?
Yes, definitely. Extant Labs, they make the greatest stuff. I probably be repeating myself, but I don't know how else to do it other than to repeat it. I use it. I love it. They have stuff for products you can use for biking, firearms, fishing, and knives. Last time we did this, we mentioned they have a product called Shank Shield. You can get it on their website. It's only $11 for a good size. Let's see if they give me the size here in the details. I'm sure it's in there. But a big, enough to last you probably a long time, depending on how many knives you have and how often you maintain them. But yeah, Shank Shield is excellent for your folding knives. They have rod and reel stuff. They have the Reel Care combo, fishing reel oil and grease kit. It's only like $14.99 on their website. And yeah, so for you fishermen out there who have want to keep your gear nice and highly functional, they've got you covered. And then my favorite product is the Alpha sauce, the Alpha gel, the Alpha sauce, the whole Alpha combo pack. Just really good stuff. And then they also have a product called Break Contact, which is like a solvent. And then they have Echo 2, the Echo combo, which is the Echo gel and the Echo 2.5, similar to the Alpha. But those are for your cleaning and lubrication for your firearms. And man, I tell you what, I can feel the difference in the way my slide moves and everything with their products. So, they are a sponsor of the Boiler Room. They are listeners of the Boiler Room. They're Social Reject Club members, and the technology in their stuff is top notch. It's not just it's not basically just altered motor oil. Like there is some high tech chemistry going on inside their stuff, and it actually draws dirt, gunk, carbon out of pocket lint, whatever, depends what you're working on, out of your actions.
I love that description. The last time you were like, it's like little ball bearings that pull shit out. I love that.
Yes, microscopic ball bearings that are all lubed up that will just pull dirt and gunk out of your stuff and make your junk move really smooth and fast. Your metal products will thank you.
It's Astroglide for knives.
There you go. Knife and gun Astroglide.
Oh, there go my dogs again.
Well, we were doing sexy talk there. I'm not surprised the dogs got excited, but yeah, thank you, Matt and Extant Labs for your support of the Boiler Room and Alternate Current Radio, and thank you to some of our listeners and members who have purchased their stuff. I've gotten notes from a lot of people telling me they love it. They've checked it out. They some people in the Discord just ordered some. Thank you, folks, for doing that. That's is good for everybody. It's good for your tools, and good for the Boiler Room, and good for Accident Labs.
Outstanding. Hopefully the dogs calm down. Now my wife's here. Hold on.
All right, yeah, no problem.
Anyway,
Yeah,
so we're back.
Okay.
The funny part is, yeah, that stuff is from all accounts, man. I have heard nothing but stellar. So thank you, Matt, on that stuff. That's good stuff. Now, is there anything you want to cover on any of the other, like Survivor Cord or any of that? Did you want to touch on that?
Well, I talked a little bit about 550 cable, paracable last time, and that is kind of like a multi-tool. I guess I would add to what I said last episode. You want to keep that in your kit or around the house or somewhere. You know, it's inexpensive and you can just have it around. I can't tell you how many like odds and ends things I've done with paracord, including setting up some of my my knives and lanyards and all that stuff. It's just a really good thing to have around. Keep it in your glove box, one in your bailout bag or get home bag or whatever. And as far as the fire cable, I have not used that stuff, but I've seen it in use on videos, and definitely would like to add some of that to my kit.
Well, that's cool. We can arrange that. Here's another small one. I don't know if I got this posted quick enough for you to see. It's what I call the artifact kit. And with that, you have, it's small enough. You can put it on your keychain. You can do what you want with it. Interesting part with it is you can also put it in like a little tin. Like I said earlier, the solid cologne from Duke Cannon. If you look it up, it's perfect size. It fits in there. On this one kit that I'm showing, it has that artifact. It has like a, and you can find them all the time. Those little blades that you use for, it's a razor blade, very small, an X-Acto blade. And you can use those for replacements because that's what it is. It also has a bottle opener, a pry bar, because it has a bend in it, a small pry bar. And you can use one part, like you said earlier, for a screwdriver. It has a hole in one side to where you can actually put it on your key ring. And then you have, like, at the end it looks like a point on the back end. That point is actually something that will deal with a Phillips head screw. So I think it's a number 2 or 3 Phillips head screw that it'll work on. And then I have what's called a button compass that's accurate. You guys can find them anywhere. And then I have a multi SD card, micro SD, all kinds of little thing reader. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with Windows 10 for some reason. And I also have a cell phone adapter that will plug into a download, on a thumb drive. And just those 4 items, I keep that in a whole separate area when I deploy. I have 2 places I put my artifacts in. I have 2 artifacts. Last trip I made, somebody stole the other case, so it is what it is. And they also stole the both of my other 2 rip spools. I had 2 extra rip spools, and they stole it all because it was in one central area.
1 is none and 2 is 1, right?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have a something in one of my pouches in like my light speed pack, and it's basically like a Swiss Army knife keychain of some sort. I have like I wish I could remember the name of the website where I got all this stuff. If I do, I'll say it or I'll put it on the show page. But it's a gearhead site, a gear queer site, and they have a lot of like mini tools there. So what I did was I got I crammed in like every mini tool that they had, like a mini pry bar, a mini flashlight, LED flashlight, little tiny one. Basically, like a whole like 15 tools that one could put on a keychain. And I got a like a braided steel keychain. It's just like a piece of metal with a little loop on one end and a nipple that goes in it, and it locks in, turns it into a loop. So I've got like a 6-inch chain like that, just full of little things like that, like a mil-spec can opener, tweezers, flashlight, tiny screwdriver set, like anything you could think of to minimize the keychain size. I guess that would be my version of your artifact loadout there. I'll have to get out and take a picture of it. I probably won't be able to find it till after the show, but I'll show you guys later.
That's cool. That's way cool, brother. That's way cool. What I will say is the artifact, the problem is it's probably because of the locking system. Locking system is not good. They discontinued making them. But even if it did collapse on you, it's going to come back on the blunt end, not the sharp end. So I don't understand why they discontinued making them. Probably complaints because it's hurting somebody, a little slice. We live in this culture now, man, where pain is, unacceptable. Whatever. Yeah. It's a good tool. But
yeah, we're experiencing peak pussification, I think. So yeah, that's a topic. But we'll avoid it because we're trying to have fun here today.
Exactly, and that brings me to my next point, which is bags and boxes. I'm showing the Pelican box for my deployment box that lives somewhere, and an old bag picture. I think I took it in 2014, 15, somewhere around there. And you can see my EOTech on the bag attached to my scope with the co-witness iron sights. Never have a scope, and this is a good thing too you brought up today, for my SIG M400. And scopes are one thing, optics are one thing, but slings and holsters, here's something, folks, you have to understand. That's a personal decision. Anybody in the military, period, understands this. They will issue you out certain things. If something works better, a wolf hook, a single point, a single to a double, a hybrid, or there's even a 3-point sling where you have, I think it was Spec Ops that used to make it, and I used to use it, where it would sling a different way. It's all about training, folks. Single point, now they have these little carve outs just behind the hand grip. And what you do is you just press a button, put it in, and then you attach your sling to that. Or sometimes slings have those permanently attached. It's about what you want, how you want to do it. This is very individual. And if somebody prefers 2-point, 3-point, or single point, it doesn't make them wrong, it's their preference. The same with a firearm. Choosing a firearm, it should be what you want, what you feel comfortable with, no matter what. You'll see I have a medical bag attached We can get into all that stuff. Um, and you can also see it's a Maxpedition. That bag is, and I have under it, you know, a sleeping bag. And I've talked about it before. I'm a big fan of Snowpack, you know, and they got them in all temperature ratings, and it's a very interesting company. Sleeping pads are still recommended on everything. Remember, convection is one of the ways you lose heat or gain heat. So these are real things that you need to consider when you're going to go out somewhere. And your thoughts on that, brother?
Oh yeah, I've always wanted a snowpack. I opted for a more budget friendly option, I think. But when I did that, I told myself, okay, one of these days I'm going to upgrade this to a snowpack. Those are really nice. That seems to be across the board. People really like those, and I love your rifle setup. It looks really nice. You know, you got the EOTech up there and Magpul furniture on it. Really good looking system you got there. Nice co-witness setup. So you're all set regardless of what happens to your gear. Those EOTechs are pretty much death proof as far as I can tell. You can even break the front element on those and you'll still have access to that hologram, unlike some of the red dot sites out there. So yeah, that's a really nice setup. And I was I think when I first started getting into this stuff, Maxpedition was one of the first companies I went to. They were definitely on the forefront of a lot of what became kind of standard with some of these pack designs. There's so many companies now that run with the Maxpedition clone style. I've got a couple Maxpeditions. They call it hard use gear, and it is. I've had some of their stuff for over 10 years now, and much like yours, which I'm sure has seen a lot more action than mine, it looks brand new still. So there's so many gear companies out there, and really nice pack makers out there, and you can spend a lot of money on some of them, and a lot of them are worth it. But man, Maxpedition is a staple. I gotta give them a bit of a shout out. I haven't purchased anything from them in some time, but when I first got started, maybe the reason I haven't is because I got the things I wanted from them right off the bat, and it's all still fully functional. I could say the same about original SOE gear or some of the other companies that I've come across too. Like for example, I have an original SOE gun belt, just a EDC belt, and the only reason that is not going to last me 10 more years is because I lost weight. Like I could sell that thing and it would last someone who's that size, quite a long time. But I won't go too deep into that because I'm sure if we get into bags and belts and all that stuff, we might blow what could be a whole nother episode.
SOE is awesome. I have no problems with that. I also have London Bridge stuff. I mean, this goes back. I mean, that's actually probably going to be a show just on bags and gear on that level, on carrying things. But there's one thing that always boggles the mind. You can, with just a stiff bristle brush, I thank the Marine Corps every day that they taught me to buy what they called a scuzz brush. And that's nothing more than a stiff bristle brush. And you don't have to do it with water on it. You got to get the dirt and the grime off first, and you scuzz it out. You saw the Fat Boy. It looks brand new, right? And there's a reason for that. I scuzzed it, then I put it in a wash. The Marine Corps was big on a product called Era detergent. That's what we had to use. And you'd go out there and they'd say scuzz everything down, and drill instructors would come out. The Army didn't do that, by the way. They were just like, clean it, gave you it, and all of us morons are out there with water and, well, actually, Era didn't exist at that time when I first went into the Army. It wasn't liquid soap. It was Tide, and it would discolor it. So you do all the scuzzing, and then there's at Paris Island there's these little concrete areas that have areas where if it's warm out, you can go out there and clean it in the sunshine. Then discolor it and let it dry, air dry. If it was cold or intemperate, what you would do is just take it into the shower with you with some air. And so you would wash it in there. Hand wash it. You're not using the scuzz brush on that. So you're not driving that stuff in. And that taught me something. That you can clean your gear while you're cleaning your body. Of course, you clean your body first and then you clean your gear. I'm not trying to be ridiculous. I'm just saying, time compounding, it's better time management, everything. If you think about it and you suss it out correctly, it's actually a better way of, and a freer way of living and not worrying about, wow, this thing really looks like hell after 5 years. No, it doesn't have to. I'm not saying you drive the scuzz brush into the material. I'm saying you just pull off the detritus gently with a stiff bristle brush. You can find them at any hardware store. You know, it's pretty simple. That's my thoughts. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's something that I've really enjoyed about a lot of my gear. You know, the modern stuff using Cordura and the nylon and the materials that these companies make this stuff out of it really is hard to screw up. And it's really easy to clean. Like I don't have a scuzz brush, and I've had to knock dirt off of my gear and take it hiking, whatever, take it to the river, and I've never had a problem with it. Like a lot of my gear looks brand new, even though it's been used and abused and loved with minimal OCD and anal retentiveness when it comes to care.
That's the point. The OCD, that's what, if you think about this with the military, white glove inspections, different things like that, that's getting anal retentive. And it's not good for the mind. And if it's still functional, if it doesn't have holes, one thing I'd love to get into when we do bags is certain waterproofing items that you can find. And I even have some that date back to Vietnam because they were actually issuing them to us during the Gulf War. We're talking about a bag that holds your AR and you use a rubber band to hold it, but in an emergency you rip off the back half. Well, I didn't have to ever use it, so I still have the bag. There was other companies that came up that made those, a lock safe, and phenomenal stuff. And then you have sea line. Some people call it seal line. It's sea line bags. We used those in the Marine Corps. They were just new, I think, back then. But they were very rare. They were always black in color too, so there was no color choice. So then they went into, I think it was about when I got out, you could get sea line bags that were clear, smoked clear. It's just interesting. You come from California. Look, I lived out in Cali in the Marine Corps. I surfed. I did all the cool shit, climbed cliffs, I used to go out to J Tree and do bouldering. Me and Natural were talking about that. Just little things you do, man. And with everything, you learn different tips, tricks, and I think that's why I enjoy this so much, is because I get a lot from you on a civilian side, and I think the people do. instead of just me talking military bullshit jargon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm probably a good sounding board for that because I had a federal job for a long time, and I used to, a lot of my coworkers were active or former military. So I guess I have, and I'm not, there's tens of thousands of people out there like me. Um, but yeah, I think that probably makes for a really good interface for these kind of discussions because I'm just really interested in it. And, I've always enjoyed, being around people that, have used these things for their job. And, that's a select few class of people like yourself.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I will say this: it's been all these things we'll have to revisit. Now, I do want to bring up, try to find the exact one. You sent me another one, and this one.
Oh, one of my pictures?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's two of
Okay,
them.
cool.
Okay, there it is. Uh, I have your two pictures. Uh, I love the way that one's up and one's down. The DPX gear and your Bowie. I would actually put the new picture up, and I will later for another show. Uh, but it shows. I think this picture shows better um, with your Bowie than the other one. I mean, it was closer, but just expound on those two things. And one of the things I think people don't realize is how much fun it is to actually wrap your own blade, fit it to your hand. You can unwrap it, rewrap it as you're going. And the concentration, if we want to talk about getting autistic, uh, the concentration on doing that, filling it in your hand, it's almost like trying on a pair of shoes. Your thoughts on that, brother?
Oh yeah, for sure. I love that. My my Bowie there is sort of my one survival knife that I have. It's got the removable cap on it, and I don't. This one actually came with the wrap. This isn't paracord on that one. I can't remember what kind of string that they used on that, what kind of cordage it is, but it's excuse me, it's another purpose-driven cordage, and inside the handle, I've got some typical, survival gear. I've got some of those cottons for starting fires. I've got a small fishing kit, which I think is probably made to interface with that cordage that's around the handle, since it's a little thinner than 550 cord. There's a compass on the other side of the end cap there, and probably a few other goodies in there. I haven't actually taken the cap off of it in quite some time. And with these kinds of knives, one thing that I noticed when I was shopping for this was that this is sort of this is like a Rambo style, in the sense that, I don't know, I think maybe that movie kind of popularized that whole, take the end cap off and have some survival gear inside of it. But your typical um, survival knife that you'll find out there in the lower price brackets are very prone to breakage. The way that the hilt is, and the way that the blade is actually connected to the handle, makes them actually pretty weak when it comes to using them for things like batoning and stuff like that. So this one that I have is this is a pretty high quality survival knife. I don't have it in front of me right now, so I can't remember the maker of it, but it's a triple lot design special edition by this company, and the handle, the hilt, and the blade are all integral in a way that it is smash proof. You can baton with it, you do all kind of stuff with it, you dig with it probably.
I love that, man. That's so awesome. Now, you want to talk about the DPX before I go to talk about the closest thing I have to it? Because honestly, I love the cordage that you have on that. I know it was done by the factory, but I think if memory would serve, it's not. I know it's not 550 cord, and I know you didn't wrap that one. I was talking about the Hess fixed blade.
Are you looking at the one that I sent you today? It says
yeah, it's the same thing. Same thing.
That
Yeah.
that it looks very much like a Hest, but this is actually from Tops Knives.
Yeah,
and this is one that they. Yeah, I love this one. My dad got me this for my birthday last year, and it is. I love it. It is. It's not a super expensive knife, but I think it's like maybe D2 tool steel or something like that. Black powder coated. I love this thing. I really like carrying it. It's got like a karambit style hole on the end, so you can draw it tip down or tip up. Either way, you can carry it on your belt, horizontally or vertically, depends how you want to do it. You really have a lot of options, and in the pictures for that, you can see the custom sheath that I mentioned last week. That was why I took a picture of this, because I mentioned Armitage Kydex make custom sheaths, and that's the custom sheath that I had made for it. You can see the little thumb ramp where you can kind of push off to help deploy your blade. And yeah, I just love this thing. It's great. It's got, I believe the scales are fabric micarta, and it just locks into the hand. Like once that thing is in there, it's not going anywhere.
Oh yeah. No, I was still talking about the one knife. So hold on one sec. I'm gonna grab that. Wow. Here we go. The knife I think you were talking about, I'm pulling up right now. I'm gonna put it in, and I know it is. This is the karambit style. It's almost a karambit, just a little bit off of it. So copy image. Let's put this
Exactly.
up. Let's put this up. Why is it not? Well, save image as. Okay. And I'm not gonna be the guy that dislikes karambits. They have a place. I own one, but it's very, very. How do I put this? It's very. First, let me put this thing up. It's not limited, but it is purpose built, and it's one of those things. Once I get this up and everybody sees, they'll understand. There we go. Boop. And okay. And now I gotta minimize. I don't know why it makes it so big on my side when I try to put them in. But people are entertained, probably because of my mad boomer skills.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we put our heads together. That's probably my fault. I probably sent you an enormous image to take HD images, so they're probably just going out.
It's all good. Shoot.
But yeah, I put a picture of that in our Discord chat also, that Tops Cut 4 knife. And I agree with you about karambits. I think they're really interesting and beautiful. And I think the reason I do not own one is because that is a knife that I look at and I say that is a very purpose-driven knife, and it looks like one would need training to know how to use it and be safe.
Yeah.
So that was why I opted for this Tops knife, because it has the aspect that I like about the karambit. It's got the big loop at the end
Yep.
of the handle, which I can lock my finger or my pinky into to use it like a normal straight edge knife. So that was kind of why I went with that hybrid.
Exactly, man. That hybrid, it doesn't have the severe angle. Uh, People can look up what a karambit, an actual karambit, looks like. This knife, it's like he said, it's a hybrid. It's semi. Um, the interesting thing about it, you can tell by the blade shape. You don't have to worry about, if you're using it, it's stabbing yourself in your own artery in your wrist, slitting your own wrist.
Yeah.
Because that ring is not just to hold within your finger, but it's also to spin it, to go from a forward grip to a rearward grip. A lot of people don't understand that when you're trying to talk to them about knives, that the different grips mean things and they're for a specific purpose. This one would function ideally in your hand. You can go for a rear or a front stab, or cut, poke, you know. It's an interesting concept, and I like that. Yeah, when you were talking earlier, I was thinking you were talking about the your Rambo type knife, and that was what the picture I had up, and I was talking about the wrap on it. This I still have it up so people can see it. This knife is, I can't see a problem with it. I think I like the way it's fluted. I like the way that I know that sweat or any kind of liquids will quickly dissipate from it, so it's not going to be a drippy knife.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy that picture, and I love the Kydex sheath you have. Now, so that's a belt behind the back type of knife, right? Correct?
You can run that in the small of the back, running horizontally. You can run it vertically on the side of your belt if you change the way those soft loops are configured on the sheath, or switch them out for like a tech lock or some other belt connector. And I actually like to run it on my weak side at about 11 o'clock on the front of my belt, so that I can hit it with my left hand and have my forefinger be in the loop, or I can hit it with my right hand if I cross draw and have my pinky be in the loop. So I can hit it with both hands, and it's up in front of me, so I don't have to have it, like a brick in my back if I were to fall down or sit in a car or whatever. So that's pretty much where I prefer to run it, is right up front on my weak side.
That makes perfect sense. I'm looking at the design. The other thing I think, I'm looking at it right now as we're talking. If you were to put one of your soft loops on the top hole, and then the other one down there on the hole right under it, it'd be an awesome under the armpit knife. If you had a
Oh yeah,
yeah.
for sure. There's I forget the guy's name. You've probably seen it before, but there's a guy who man, I wish I could remember it. I don't even know what to call the thing, but he basically used a paracord setup to make a under the arm like a sling, basically, for your knife sheath. And it was so simple and so innovative. I loved the way that he did it. There was a whole name for it and a style, and I think people may have even marketed this as a product. But basically, you can just use 550 cord and do arrange it across your body like you would maybe like a 3-point sling for a rifle. But instead, you've got your soft loop set up like you just described, and you've got it right there under your arm, easy access.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. What I have is my quote-unquote Sonny Crockett South African setup holster, and it has
very similar.
the handcuffs under it. If I was doing copping, I don't do copping, so those handcuffs are gone, and then the spare mag under the armpit, the weak side. and that thing would definitely fit within the 2 parameters. There's 2 little clips under it. If you look at it close enough, you would see that there's 2 little clips where the handcuffs would fit. And if you were to set those apart and there's enough spread, it won't print going back because it's not that serious curve of a karambit. It just has a gentle curve. And I bet that wouldn't print at all under a loose shirt.
Oh yeah, you could conceal that really well, I'm sure.
Exactly. And that was my thought with that knife. I just absent-mindedly didn't put that up. But
oh yeah, that's okay.
But I will say on the let me do that again. Find it. Where did I put that? It was. Hold on. Gotta find it. I think it was there. Nope. It's that knife, the Bowie style. That knife was what I was talking about. That little cordage. I was wondering what that was on that, and also on the. It looks like just straight 550 cord on the Hest. I put those 2 together, so that was what I was trying to talk about with the top that comes off. So the cordage there looks almost like it's for deep sea fishing line, high test, high pound weight, high test pound weight string. Is that similar to what you think?
Yeah, I believe so. And I actually have some fishing hooks and stuff inside the handle that actually came with it when I got it. So I do believe that is the intent. I'm going to step away from my headphones and mic for a second. I'm going to go grab that one. It's just right across the room. I'll be right back.
Oh, no worries. No worries. And as you guys can see, the karambit, or the modified karambit that he has, a phenomenal knife. There's no problem with it. I would carry that, honestly, either in the small of my back, unless I'm driving. There is a caveat. And when he was talking about weak side, that's not a problem unless you have magazines there. So, magazines for your firearm. So that's not a problem either. Go on, brother.
Okay, so I'm back. I've got that one. This is from right here in Texas from Martin Knives at MK out of Texas, USA. And this is the Triple Aught Design Special Edition collaboration with Martin. And yes, this is this cordage. I think you're right. I wish I had the website and details, all the specs on this knife handy. I got it some years ago, and I don't even know if they still make it. But yeah, inside of there, I just pulled the handle off. I'm looking at the compass. I've got a fire starting rod in there. I've got some of that fire starting material and some fishing hooks and kit in there. It's a really nice survival knife, and it's virtually indestructible compared to a lot of the other stowaway handle survival knives that you'll find out there on the market.
Exactly. That, I think, I like the shorter blade. I was trying to do a comparison when we were talking earlier on it with the Buckmaster that I own. Well, I own several of them. That knife, the Buckmaster, the one thing that it was all ego. Carrying the Buckmaster and having the Buckmasters I have were all about ego. There was one time when it was about feeding my own ego. I gotta be honest. Can't lie to you. But I fell in love with smaller blades. You have more control, a finer cut, a finer way to. Oh, no worries, man. I mean, we have dogs. We're dog peoples. Um, the fine belly of them. With a Buckmaster, yeah, you have a longer draw or whatever, and a longer reach. But you know, when does I'll tell you, back in the '80s, here's something funny. You want to laugh, and most of the people will laugh on this. If you didn't have a Buckmaster, or you didn't have a Gerber, oh, they called it a BMF, big motherfucking knife. If you didn't have those, you were a pussy, and that was just the ego of that time. You know what I'm saying, brother?
Yeah, yeah. I think the First Blood movies really kind of led us to that place. I can imagine. I can only imagine the climate in the knife community at the time. Um, yeah, I agree. I like the shorter blade too. You know, that longer Spartan one that we talked about last week. I would definitely take the Spartan knives over that for camping, hiking, stuff like that. This would be way more appropriate. Really thick upper spine, perfect for batoning and stuff like that. It's a standout knife. I haven't looked at their website in a long time, but if anyone's curious, Martin Knives right here out of Texas. Think it's a small batch company, so their stuff is super high quality and not inexpensive, but you get what you pay for, right?
Exactly. That's the funniest thing, dude. I can joke with you about certain things, but one thing's for sure. Do you think I bounce? Okay, in the military is one thing. I could have my AR-7 rifle in my backpack. I could have in the mags and the little bit of 22 rounds. I could have my Buckmaster in my backpack. Nobody's looking at that, coming or going. Even if somebody looked in my backpack and saw components of something back then, they wouldn't have worried. They would have known I bought it if they would have asked. Fortunately, I was a military policeman, so military police do customs overseas. And you go there with your armband on, they just open your sea bag or your, in the Army, what they call it, your duffel bag. And they're like, you got anything? Nah, nothing to declare. No money? Yeah, no. Anyways, do you think I'm going to travel with that Buckmaster and I'm going to put that picture up on the tray so people can see how obscene that fucking length of knife is? There it is on the tray.
Yeah.
And you remember seeing it before.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The blade's
It's-
obscene. It's like 10 inches. Whereas your knife, I just did that for a flash. Your knife, now that I know where it's at, has like just enough blade. You know,
It's probably 4.5 inches, maybe something like
4.5,
that.
5 inches. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you push through, you have to go 5 all the way to the stop. My mind.
The hilt.
The hilt, yes. So yeah, and it's more useful. So there comes a time, like I said, folks, if you're young, just realize a lot of the stuff you'll buy is going to be for ego. Get function, even if it's limited function. But know
Yeah.
the function you're buying for.
Right. Know what you're buying. Know your local laws. Know how to get experience safely. All that stuff. And gosh, I can relate to that too, Kaiser. And if you are in that phase of your life where it's more aesthetic or more ego driven, that's fine. We've been there, and I understand it. But please understand that if you have tools like this and you're into things like this, one of the most important skills that you can possibly have if you're legally carrying these things is de-escalation and verbal judo. Don't be the kind of person that gets in ego fights. Don't one of the people I watch online, who was it? I can't remember who it was, but he was talking about the recent unrest, and he said, it's real easy, folks. don't go stupid places with stupid people and do stupid stuff. So I guess I'll repeat that for everybody out there, since we're talking along these lines here.
I love it.
De-escalation is so important. It's just not worth fighting people over stuff. Defense is one thing, but fighting over ego stuff it's never going to be helpful.
It's bullshit. It's play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And in all honesty, folks, I'll be very frank. Verbal judo, here's how basic it is. Somebody, you go up to a mentally deficient person. I have a problem because my mother... I hear you about your mother, so what can I do for you to help you at this time? You're de-escalating. You're just parroting what they say. A lot of... This is something I don't think I've even talked about before with you guys. A lot of negotiations, and that's what verbal judo is it's not really parroting, but you understand what they're saying. The last bit is the part that you really need to know. And then when they say that, you just say, okay, I understand. Now, how can I help you? What can I do for you today? And so it becomes a win-win thing. And it's an interviewing technique. It's a negotiating technique. Anybody that has done negotiating or talking with people to try to take the temperature down, and see, there's a reason why certain people now don't want to talk to people, because their controllers tell them, don't talk to anybody. Not the media, you got to get it cleared through a facilitator. You know why? It's a cult control technique. And they just shut it down. Because they understand verbal judo, they understand negotiations. And these eggheads think that's the way to stop discourse. The problem with stopping discourse is it stops it on both sides. So just never stop discourse. I guess that's my best advice. Your thoughts?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I totally appreciate what you just said, and I think it's an important topic. And I am going to have to wind down here, so I want to get out of here soon. But I think this is a really good place to kind of take this. We didn't. It's a totally unplanned conversation per usual over here, but yeah, that's really good advice. And right now, I think a lot of people need that advice, because I see people having freakouts. I see people having bruised egos and sensitive outrage buttons, and a lot of stupid stuff happen. A lot of stupid people going stupid places with stupid people and doing stupid stuff, and getting themselves hurt or hurting other people, or property being destroyed. I mean, there's so many things that could be avoided. And one other thing that I would add to that skill set that you just laid out there, which I think is a great tactic to take when you're dealing with someone. If someone is directly mad at you, like say it's a road rage thing, or stepped in front of someone, or I don't know, didn't like the look of you, you can really disarm someone by just, even if they're the asshole and that you did nothing wrong and that this person's probably looking for a fight, just apologize. Just apologize. Oh, sorry, my bad. I totally screwed that up. What can I do to make it up to you? Kind of along those same lines that you were just saying. So I mean, there's a lot of things we can do to cool things down, to de-escalate, so that you can then leave, escape, and evade.
My favorite term when they come up to me like that, it disarms them all the time. I love you.
Yeah.
I mean that. I really love you.
Yeah. No, that works. There's definitely. I mean, the if you can just flip that switch of compassion and understanding, and tune out that ego part that makes you say, "Well, f you," how dare you? That will get us far in what we're trying to achieve with self-actualization and becoming effective people, you know, in a society that is becoming less and less welcoming and effective and mature.
Remember, when I said I love you, that means I have two ways to love you. I'm already ready for what you're about to do. But I'm trying to tell you, calm down without telling you to calm down. And just say, I love you. And it confuses them, it gives you time. And it's about buying time, folks. And at this time, everybody wants to, what's the old song? Everybody wants to rule the world. That's what's going on. And so I think this is a good time to end it, Hesh. As always, man, this was a very good episode. I'll try to be not talking to the person I was talking to on the day that I'm supposed to have a show. So, but I had to.
That's all right,
understand, brother.
Oh yeah, no worries, man. I'm 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes late to shows all the time because life happens, you know. It's we're doing our thing over here. We're living our lives and being internet personalities as well. So that's just the way things roll. We got dogs, we got friends, we got family, we got things we got to do. So yeah, no worries there. No apology necessary. And man, thanks for inviting me again. This is what a mega session we did today. I'm really glad we got to get through some of the items that we didn't get through last time. And I hope people got some enjoyment out of the show. Really nice to steer clear of the power politics du jour. Once again, with Sword.9 over here and simulcasting at Alternate Current Radio in the boiler room. So thanks, Kaiser, once again for setting this up and making the slideshow. And thanks, Spore, for helping me coordinate and calendar, and we'll look forward to doing this again. Kaiser, I know you got a lot of stuff planned coming up soon, but next time we talk, maybe we'll do I don't know, bags or medical. I don't know. I'm open-minded to where we go next and looking forward to it, my friend.
Bags, boxes, and medical. Sounds like a good plan. All right, I love you guys. I love the boiler room. Remember, Social Reject Club, SRC. You guys mean the world to me, and I definitely know you mean the world to Hesher and Spore.
All right, Social Reject Club worldwide. Thank you, Kaiser.
With that being said, thank you for stopping by Kaiser's Castle. I will slowly raise the drawbridge as you finish your coffee, tea, soda, or adult libation, and you step off my big orange couch. And I thank you for being here at Kaiser's Castle.
Thank you for having me, and I'm out of here, and I will leave with my usual farewell, which goes a little something like this.
That's it. Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.